This is the Sports Psychology Podcast with Michael Seeley for Thursday, July 21st, Stage 18 of the Tour de France from Lourdes to Hautacam, 143 kilometers, 3 major climbs today, very difficult climbs, finishing on the Hautacam 5,000-foot peak, 14-kilometer final climb at 8%, very challenging day. This was the day where Tadej Pogacar needed to get time, needed to make his last-ditch effort and try to get time on Jonas Vingegaard. Let's get right into the race. There was an early breakaway. We got about 2 minutes on the yellow jersey group. In that early breakaway was Wout Van Aert of the Jumbo-Visma team and was out there for most of the day. So let's flash forward to about 40 kilometers to go. Pogacar launches his first attack in an effort to try to somehow catch Vingegaard off guard, and it doesn't work. Vingegaard is right there on his wheel. Pogacar tries again a couple kilometers later, and right there, Vingegaard is right on his wheel. At this point, the pace is high enough that everyone else gets dropped except Vingegaard. So the two of them come into the final descent before the final climb. Vingegaard and Pogacar are going down this final descent. Now, mind you, the breakaway is still up the road, but it's not a threat to GC. So these two guys, Vingegaard and Pogacar, know that this is the stage where you can win or lose the Tour. This is Pogacar's last chance to gain time. This is also a nerve-wracking experience, I would imagine, for Vingegaard, because he needs to protect this jersey. He doesn't want to crash on the descent. So the psychology coming into this final descent before the final climb is this is essentially the end of the Tour de France, because the next couple of days, you have a flat stage tomorrow, you have a time trial. There's really not going to make up enough time in that time trial. Pogacar can't win the Tour de France in that time trial. He's too far behind. And then the Paris stage on Sunday is a traditional promenade into Paris. So this is really the last effort. So I was watching this, and coming into this descent, you see really, really good bike handlers making some mistakes that they typically wouldn't. Now, to be fair, this is a very difficult descent. It's narrow roads, twisty, turny, very difficult and challenging. But what you see in this descent is Jonas Vingegaard coming into a corner and pedaling into the corner, catching his pedal and having his back wheel hop up in the air. Fortunately, touches down. He doesn't crash, but he almost crashes. This is a kind of thing that you wouldn't see riders of this caliber normally do, doing pedaling too far into a corner and catching their pedal. This is some sort of nervous, nerve-wracking stuff where they don't really have their head together. I suspect they're very nervous. And what's interesting here is that when Vingegaard almost crashes, Pogacar kind of attacks. Not a really hard attack, but he accelerates, which is not really a cool move. I think there's kind of some desperation there. And a couple corners later, this kind of comes back to haunt him. Pogacar comes into this corner kind of hot, as we say. He overcooks it, meaning that he comes into the corner too fast, then he runs out of road. And so he holds it up, but he goes into the gravel on the side of the road. And at this point, he's moving pretty slow, probably at 15, 17 miles an hour. But this gravel catches his back wheel, and he actually does crash. Not too hard, but enough to shake him up. And Jonas Vingegaard, being the gentleman, waits up for him. He looks back and coasts and waits, like, significantly. So I thought that was a really classy move on his part, not to attack Pogacar. And then Pogacar had actually attacked him previously. So, hats off to Vingegaard, just being a real gentleman there. So now let's flash forward to the final climb. We have the early breakaway, which is still ahead, but not by much. It's been whittled down to about a minute here, and has Wout Van Aert of the Jumbo-Visma team, Vingegaard's teammate. And this is a really interesting tactic on Jumbo-Visma's part. They had Wout Van Aert slow down and actually get off the breakaway and wait for Vingegaard and Pogacar. He waited. So Wout Van Aert, and the strategy here is that Wout Van Aert gets about a minute break where he's sipping water, he's coasting, he's catching his breath, he kind of recharges his batteries, and now he's like a very rested teammate for Jonas Vingegaard. If Van Aert had been there the whole time, he would have been tired, just as tired as Vingegaard and Pogacar. But so he does this reverse strategy and comes out of the breakaway and goes back. And at this point, Van Aert is able to turn up the heat because he's super fresh, and he actually drops Tadej Pogacar. And so Van Aert and Vingegaard, Jumbo-Visma teammates, go up the road at full speed, and Pogacar starts to crack. You see his head go down, he looks demoralized, and at the very end, you see Vingegaard turn up the heat even more, and Vingegaard actually wins the stage. Pogacar gets second and loses about 1 minute and 4 seconds. So that is, honestly, that's the tour right there. Pogacar did not want to lose time today. He wanted to gain time. And here's a real surprise as Wout Van Aert gets third place on the stage in a mountain stage, 170-pound guy. Pretty incredible. So the final general classification, as it is today, is number 1, Jonas Vingegaard. Second place, Tadej Pogacar at 3 minutes, 26 seconds back. And then third place, Geraint Thomas at 8 minutes. I believe this is going to be the podium in Paris. This is it. Tomorrow's a flat stage. There's no real place for Pogacar to somehow get time on Vingegaard. The next stage after that is a 25-mile time trial. That's not long enough for Pogacar to get any time on Vingegaard, and Vingegaard's a great time trialer. So it's over. It's essentially over, barring any, flat tires, crashes, bad luck. I think this is it. So, amazing stuff. I am exhausted just talking about this and watching the tour. We're almost there. We got a couple more days left, and hats off to Jonas Vingegaard.